Okay, well here it is, the Fender Tone Master Pro. I originally reviewed this product back in something like, I think it was October 23. Yeah, as long ago as that, which is nearly 18 months, I guess, give or take a... Oh, well, it probably is 18 months. You go figure yourself. But when I reviewed this product, I really wanted to like it. Fender hadn't really been into this this sector of the business, so to speak. Yeah, really at all. I know they've got various bits integrated into amps and stuff like that, but it wasn't quite the same. This was sort of a more revolutionary looking product at the time. And I was most taken aback when I got it, and, well, frankly, it wasn't really good. It wasn't very good at all. There were lots of problems in the firmware, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. And lots of other sort of non-niceties. I never even did get the processor apart in this unit, and to this day it's never been apart. So I end up sort of having to believe what Fender tell you, and it's never a good thing to actually just sit back and believe what these makers tell you, because I've seen so many products where the products aren't really what they say they are. At least in this unit, you might appreciate it a bit better now, and this is part of the reason why I've come back to have another sort of review of it, to come back and look at it today, as opposed to what it was at launch time in October 2023. And by the way, if you like the way that this looks on the screen, you can buy that stand to put your iPad on, or other device, if it's a Bluetooth type of thing, you know. And yeah, it really, if you're in a studio like this, it makes it really nice to work on, rather than the smaller screen. But I must say that the smaller screen isn't really as small as some of the others. But with this big, with this iPad, it really does change things. And I bought the stand that you see, really, that was off Amazon for 20 quid. That's about $24, $25. So pretty cheap by any standards, but it's a really well made metalized stand. I might show it you later in the review or not. Well, we'll see, won't we? But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I just wanted to get you up to speed before we actually start looking at this product once again. I'm back. Well, where have I been? Well, I went to that Birmingham guitar show, which I saw one or two of the YouTubers around there. Yeah, Steve, how you doing? And the other chap, I forgot his name already, but I'm like that. He's probably forgot me too. But don't worry about that. He promised to send me a little email thing. I'm still waiting, but that's life. And one or two other guys with all the camera gear and the rest. And to be honest, I did do the show, and I've got a few highlights of the show of the things that I saw that were worth looking at. But I'll tell you one of the, quickly, if you don't mind, before we get down to this. One of the highlights, I won't call them highlights, I'll call it one of the negatives that I saw, was stand after stand after stand with products I've never heard of. And that's not never heard of like, oh, this has just come out and Tony's just found it, so to speak, which isn't the case. But you can imagine it was. Yeah, no, these were products that I'd never heard of by brand name. One stand after the other, after the other, after the other. Obviously, there were some of the brands there that I do know. But my God, there were so many there that I don't know, I've never heard of, and, well, I've hardly ever seen. Well, I've never seen. There were brands there that I've heard of, I didn't know about, and it's not my fault. I have all the mags and the internet and all the rest. But there they are, and, yeah, I'd never heard of them. And would I buy them? Probably not. But would you? That's the real question. If you're wandering around that show, you know, let's imagine you've got a bucket of money in your pocket. Anyway, enough of that. You get the idea, don't you? Have a think about what I said. But before we get underway, I wanted to show you the little stand I've got. There it is. It's designed for an iPad. Yeah, like the one over there. Like the one I showed you earlier. And it's made by a company called Ugreen, Ugreen, Ugreen. And no, it's not sponsored. I went and bought one. In fact, this is my second one. I've now got two because they're so useful. They can go into lots of shapes and things like that. But there it is. I won't waste any more time on it because I want to get back to this. Well, to be honest, I remember it. I remember it so well. When it came out, I bought one and did a review in October 2023, which you can't believe is nearly 18 months, give or take, from today. And when I did review it, I was very disappointed. It looked a great piece of gear. It was well made, maybe too well made for some aspects. But there it was, and yeah, I thought it was not very good at all. The operating system and the firmware and all the rest of it. Well, sure enough, he had a screen with little pictures on it and things like that. But to be absolutely honest, it wasn't very good in my opinion. You had all the, I won't call them fanboys, they're more boys that get one for loan for free or buy it for free or whatever they do. I bought this one. But that's what they do, and then you never see them again, do you? No, you never see them using one because it's gone back. They never did buy it, did they? It's a crazy way of working with reviews, I think. And that's why I tend to buy them. I'm not really biased either way then. I bought it. It's either good or it isn't, if you get me. Yeah, so I decided to come back and take another look at this because, well, I did the firmware upgrade not very long ago, within a few weeks ago. And yeah, it changed the device quite dramatically. There are a lot of things I like on this, just simply. And I'm going to get in a bit closer. I'll let you just have another look, just in case, for the guys that have never seen one. Don't tell me everybody's seen one. I know a lot of people have, but have they seen them up close and have they really looked at them? Well, let's go in a little bit closer for now and just get that bit out of the way, if you don't mind. And then I'll have a quick look across the back as well, I think. Just while we're here for, you know, completeness, just to go through the product in the best way I can. Oh, there you are. Oh, I'm back down here again. Hey, yeah, it's all good. That's what I think, anyway. Or it's all good, if that's the right word. But taking a look at it, yeah, here we are, back down. I mean, as I said, for the guys that have never seen one, it's got quite a lot of nice features on it. It really has. I like the big screen. I like the size of the unit as well. It's no Line 6 Helix by size, but of course the Helix is, well, getting on a bit like me, I suppose. Yeah, it's probably like you as well by now. You're probably older than when you first watched my channel, or not. But there it is, taking a quick look around it. I mean, you can do that if you want, and yeah, you've got lots of things in here which we can sort of hop back with. List views and all sorts of things in the firmware. And you've got all this stuff across the bottom, as you always have. You can see them. We can go and choose them and mess around if we want, but I'm not really here to show you that. I covered a lot of that, I think, in the other one. Well, as much as I could. One of the things I do like are these controls where you can sort of turn them in the right mode, that is. You've got to be, obviously, in the right place. Yeah. So we can sort of turn things, you see that, just by twiddling this knob. Away you go. I mean, it's quite brilliant, really, and I haven't seen any other device that's quite as good as this one for this sort of thing. To me, it really makes things good. You just twiddle this and away you go. Your master, well, my master's been set on 100 because I've been doing work with it, but you can do different things and control the thing in different ways. It's got a huge amount of features in it, which I did, as I say, cover a lot of them in that first review, so I don't want to get too bogged down with the device today. I recommend that you go and have a look down in the text, because I have got a link to that first video, and then you can take a look at the first video, see how good or how bad that unit was at that time when it first come out. I mean, it literally was just a number of weeks after launch. And then have a look at it now and see if you can see yourself at how it's changed. Or more importantly, I don't even remember whether I actually played it on that video. I must have, maybe, or not. Don't correct me if I didn't. Don't correct me if I did. So you got all this stuff anyway across here. Presets are here. You've got a gig view. I don't want it to fall over. Well, that's what you're on at the moment. And we can whip through the simple ones, and that's what you get. And we come back out of that, back into the the rig view in reality. Well, as real as a synthesis can be. It's not perfect, but it is substantially better than where it was. Honestly, it really is. So the things I like are these things like this, that you know, these twisting things. They really are on another level. The master's simple. You can push for a mixer. There is a mixer in here, and this controls the I/O really of different things what you're connecting. Now, that's pretty good. That is. Again, once again, it's got its uses, and again, you can see them there moving up and down. I hope you can see them. Yeah, you can. Only just, but that's all you need to see for now. By the way, as you've already seen, it is a touchscreen. So there's a looper on this device, in case you didn't notice. I don't use it myself. There's a tuner, which is part of the course, really. You can do your tapping there for the BPM, all that sort of stuff. What else can I tell you? Well, not really that much. It's pretty much of a much, really. Yeah, what I want to do is, really, I won't go round the back, but do note the ones that are selected here are lit up. Yeah, that also matters, doesn't it? Especially if you're going to use it live. And this thing, I think you could use live. It's simple enough to be able to do that. And I think it sounds good enough as well. It's not a real tube amp, of course it isn't. But it's still pretty good. Anyway, what I'm going to do is flip around so you can have a quick look around the back. Well, there you go. Here's a shot around the back. And I think it's absolutely worth having a look around here, because this is the be-all and end-all for a lot of processors, in my opinion. Some of them don't have this, and they do have that, but they don't have the other, and you get the idea. And let's face it, although this unit's come down a few £100 from its 1,600 and something pounds when I bought it. I think it was about 1,600. It's now 1,300 and something. It makes you question why it wasn't 1,300 and something at first, doesn't it? However, let's not be negative in that way, because it does have a fair amount of stuff across the back here, as you can easily see on that video right now. It's a pretty nice shot, that is, actually. If you look up here, it tells you what they are as well, nice and easily. You've got a mic stroke line, and it can handle the 48 volt thing and all that sort of stuff. So quite nice in that respect. You've got an instrument input, which is, I'd say, guitar input, but some people would argue with me with that, because you can put other things on the input, can't you? We've got a number of loops. One of the things about this, it's got loop 1, loop 2, loop 3 and loop 4. 4 loops, which is, yeah, and it's in stereo as well. And well, can you argue with that? 4 loops, that's a very sort of Line 6 or even fractal audio type of thing, for a lot less price than the FX3. But everybody might tell me that the FX3 is better than this. Well, it might be. It's a matter of opinion. We've also got a left and right output 1. We've got an output 2, left and right. You can see that. So you can have stereo on that, stereo on that. You can route different audio to different places. So depending on what you're trying to do, you can probably do most things. You've got an aux in, which is there, if you want to get your little... do they still have iPods? I think they do. Or whatever it is you've got, you can sort of feed it in there. And you could do that with backing tracks and all sorts of things. But of course you could use it for practicing as well, which is the sort of thing I used to do with some of my simulators, you know, backing and things like that. Yeah, very nice. We've got some other things down here. We've got a phones socket. And what I can tell you right off about that socket there, listen, let me put this in. That one there, don't go and buy a set of studio headphones at sort of 250 or 300 ohms or something like that. Because I'm telling you now, you will not get the volume out of this device, no matter what you do. I could not get anything like the volume that I'm used to being in a studio. And I can imagine if you were using cans in some public place, oh man, yeah, you're going to have fun. But what I did is I bought some cheaper headphones. Let me go get them. Again, I think these were Amazon or somewhere like that. But they did talk about, it's so stupid they got a left and right inside there instead of just on the back, I don't know. Anyway, the point of them was that they were a different ohm range than what you might, let me throw them down there, than what you might expect. I think those were something like, I don't know, 16 ohms or 20 ohms or something like that. And they increased the volume quite dramatically while at the same time reducing the quality because they were a really cheap pair of headphones. I think they were about £30 or £28 or something like that. Of course, they have the usual Amazon 5 stars for everything, and you can tell straight away that's not genuine. But they serve their position in the studio. That's what I would say. When I need it loud, I'll go and find them and use a pair like that. Don't, whatever you do, go down the really expensive headphones that are in my studio because you will be very disappointed in the volumes. Moving along a bit further, we've got an expression socket, expression pedal socket, an expression 2 socket. We've got a toe switch connector, so you could use a wire type of, well, an expression pedal with a switch. And there are ways and means with them as well, which I might talk about a little bit, or not. And we've got an expression 2 and an amp control. So the amp control will feed off to your amp so you can switch channels. Sadly, there's only one of them, which is a bit of a shortcoming, I think. Some of the amps that I've had have 2 or 3 or 4 connectors and no MIDI, which is sad. But that's the way it is. And, you know, you have to put up with what you've got, I guess. Now, while we're in passing, I thought I'd mention this one as well, in case you've never seen one of them. It's a Nectar expression pedal. Now, it doesn't have, you can see there, I don't know how in focus this will be, but it doesn't have the toe switch. But I can tell you from past experience that you can take one of them Nectar pedals, and by the way, they're between sort of 20 and 28 quid or something like that. They're quite cheap for what they are. And you can run another lead off it and plug it in the back there. So you've actually got a toe control button. And yeah, it'll save you a fortune. Go and buy the Fender pedal. Not this cheap one, the Fender one. And I think they're about 100 and odd quid. Or if they're anything like the Line 6 ones, they're 130 or 140 pounds, which is crazy for just an expression pedal with virtually nothing in it, if you want the truth. Something I particularly dislike to see when you're being ripped off in that way for something that's, well, to be honest, it's just a controller. So let's move along a bit further. You've got a micro SD there. If I remember right, I think you use that for you can use that for putting firmware on and stuff like that. I don't think it's quite for what you and me might think. I've been asleep since I used it, so if you're really unsure, go back and look at the other video. I'm sure I will have covered it in there. What I do like to see though is a full-size MIDI in and out or through, which is also just as useful really. There it is, got all the features there, and there's a USB there. So now what I didn't mention about that USB is actually you can connect it to a Mac or a PC and edit presets with the desktop app. You can of course do it with the iPad that I've been showing you, but you can also record with a 4x4 USB audio interface, or you can update the firmware through that. And there's another little trick when you're coming down to updating the firmware, something I always remember originally. I looked around for ages and couldn't find, but I'm going to let you into the secret right now. What I would say to you is it's so obvious you can't see it. It's right there. Can you see that? There's a little button that you have to press when you turn this on so that you can update the firmware. And if you don't find that button, notice it isn't marked in any way. It's just not marked. It's just out of the way. And I hate to say this, but it's not actually marked on the paperwork either. It will be somewhere. Maybe it's changed these days, but yeah, I went around in circles looking for that. I was pressing these little screws. Stupid things like that. And of course, lastly, moving along, well, I say lastly, we've got the power input. Yeah, there it is. Nice, simple PC type. Plug your mains in and away you go. And that's always going to be useful. Well, it is to me. It might not be to you. You've also got this little jewel light. They call them jewel lights, don't they? Jewel, jewel lights. And it's just like one of those off a Fender amp, which I think was a nicety at the time that I mentioned, and I'm mentioning it again now. So there. Okay, well, I just want to show you the firmware version, and I've just fired it up so you can take a good look. And all you really need to do is to hit this little button here, go down to the About, and there's your firmware version. This one is 1.5.5, it says there. I don't think I can go any further than that. No, that's as far as you go with that. But that was the last one I updated. There might even be a newer one, I don't know. But the change from the early version that I had, I forget the version now, which one it was, but it was the first version I got my hands on. Yeah, updated to this. It's a substantial upgrade. There is masses and masses of differences, including things like, I'll call them scenes. Whether they are actually called scenes these days, don't know. But basically you can have a scene that allows you to have a number of different settings for a given preset. And yeah, it can be very useful, that can. It's come out like that. Yeah, I always like the screen as well, don't you? Well, if we look at some of this stuff. Yeah, there they are, whipping past. Yeah, and if you click one, just while we're here, you do get a really good definition of the pedal. I think it's as good as any that you can bypass easy enough. Yeah, it's on or it's off. It's even got a little red light. Do the knobs move? Yeah, they do. Look at that. You see that? It's all been very nice, very nicely featured. And it's what you're paying for, I think. You know, none of this junky stuff and tiny little screen where you can't get at anything. But I think on this thing, you know, you can literally get at most stuff. Look at it. And there's the amp. Yeah. Turn her up tone. See that? Quite amazing. Anyway, I'm not going to go any further with this now. I've showed you what I wanted to show you. And what I wanted to show you was, you know, basically a bit of an overview about it. And I'm just going to play the tracks. And you can make your own mind up. You go and have a jump between the old video and the new video. The old original of October 23 for this thing. And you go and have a look at it now. And see what you think. Because I think that, you know, as far as the tones are concerned and the operation of the thing, it's very substantially improved. And so if you've got a product like this that started out in not so good a way and it's ending up in a much better way, you know, I do believe in coming back and saying, well, you know what, it's improved no end. And it has improved no end. You'll just have to take my word for it, because I don't want to make an hour-and-a-half video. Keep it short like that. Have a listen at the tracks. I've got a nice laid-back track. Seem to be doing a couple of them these days, but they're very nice. And you can make your own mind up as to whether you think that track has a good tone or doesn't have a good tone. It felt quite nice, and it wasn't a tube amp, no, but it felt nice. It was in the right place in the studio room. I used the iPad, you know, to show the stuff up nicely. I thought it was quite good. So that's it for now. And yeah, I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you think. Tell me whether you like it or you don't like it. and all that sort of stuff. From what you see between those two videos, and if you actually do go back and do that comparison, I think you'll be, well, quite startled at the difference. There is a lot of difference. I'm not showing it to you, but everybody else has done that, haven't they? Well, there's the basic rundown without me going into any great depth and bothering to put the software on and all that other good stuff and going inside, because I've already been inside as far as I could possibly go. And I have tried to get into this, by the way, to look at the processor again, and it's at a point where I think it could break if I tried to be any more tough on it. So we're going to have to put up with the processor as it is, unless somebody else bothers to get one out, which I don't think they could be bothered. I don't think anybody cares to get one out, a processor that is, and show the world, which is a real pity, because I'd love to see it myself. Wouldn't you? I'm sure you would. Now do remember, I'm just skimping the surface here. You know, that October 2023 is probably worth going and having a look at, because it was probably the only genuine review on here, on YouTube that is. Everybody else seemed to think they were brilliant, and it wasn't. It really wasn't. I don't do that very often, but at that time I wasn't putting up with it. Not for the 1,600 and odd pounds. It was just a joke. Today, is it worth the money? Well, it probably is worth, well, it's worth, I think it's worth £1,000. Pounds, that is, not dollars. What about a score, Tony? Are you going to give it an updated score? Well, yes, I am. I am going to give it an updated score, because I think it deserves it. They've pained and chipped away at the product with the firmware and the rest of it, until it's actually quite usable. I know it sounds funny, but you've got to look at that old view. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And for one of these types of devices, that's very good. Well, why not a 10 out of 10, Tony? Well, if somebody bothers to show me the processor, yeah, I'll give you a 10 out of 10. But until I can see the processor, sadly, it's staying at 9, because I don't believe what some people might tell you. What they tell you and what is reality, sometimes, sometimes they don't gel like that. They're more like that. It's one here and one there. Where's it gone? They miss. So it's a 9 out of 10, which is still a very, very good score from me. And that's an awfully good phrase from me. It can sound good for one of these, any type of simulator. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So here's the playing. I've got Alan Bruce playing some and me playing some. Mine, I think I've got one more louder and one more quieter. And Alan Bruce that is, he plays a couple of tracks, and he's a bit like a Mad Hatter, similar to the person in the track that he wrote called Alice back in I think it was probably 2006 when we completed that one, or thereabouts. And yeah, Burner Street, yeah. Until next time, get out of here, and thanks for stopping by the way. Don't forget to do that thumbs up, that subscribe, and hit the bell, man. Hit the bell. Now get out of here.